They thought I would quietly sign their termination papers. They didn't know I was the one who wrote the rules that could tear their entire empire apart. Just 11 more days, and I had turned their stranglehold into handcuffs around their own wrists. My name is Charlotte Whitman, and at 48, I had spent more than half my life building something that was about to be taken from me. 27 years at Midland Precision Systems, starting when I was barely 21, fresh out of college with dreams bigger than my paycheck. I had climbed from inventory clerk to senior operations director, architecting every supply chain protocol, every security measure, every process that kept this industrial equipment manufacturing company running like clockwork in our quiet corner of Ashridge City. But dreams have a way of turning into nightmares when new management arrives. The rain hammered against the windows of the 25th floor that Tuesday afternoon, each drop like a countdown timer I couldn't hear yet. Darren Colton's office was a shrine to corporate sterility. Floor-to-ceiling glass, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum, and the kind of cold that seeped into your bones despite the building's heating system. He was everything I wasn't, young, ruthless, and completely disconnected from the human cost of his decisions. "Charlotte, please have a seat." His voice carried the practiced smoothness of someone who had delivered bad news so many times it had become muscle memory. The manila envelope on his desk might as well have been a loaded gun. I settled into the chair across from him, noting how he avoided eye contact, how his fingers drummed against the glass surface. These were tells I had learned to read during nearly 3 decades of corporate meetings, signs that someone was about to drop a bomb and wanted to minimize the blast radius. "I'll get straight to the point," he continued, sliding the envelope across the desk. "We're implementing a significant restructuring initiative. Your position is being eliminated effective immediately." The words hung in the air like smoke. Inside the envelope was a termination letter, a severance package offering 8 weeks' pay, and a non-compete clause that would lock me out of the industry for 18 months. Standard corporate execution tools designed to make the victim grateful for the mercy of a quick death. But what Darren didn't know was that I had helped write the very rules he was trying to use against me. I kept my expression neutral, thanked him for his time, and stood to leave. As the elevator doors closed behind me, I allowed myself a small smile. The retirement bonus agreement I had negotiated back in 2004 with the previous CEO contained a little-known protection clause, my own insurance policy against exactly this kind of corporate butchery. I just had to find the original document. That night, I sat in my home office, surrounded by filing cabinets that contained 27 years of careful documentation. The yellowed pages of the original agreement were buried in a folder marked Employment Contracts Archive. There it was in black and white. Section 5.4.2, Protection Against Termination, within 30 days of retirement benefit eligibility. Darren had just handed me the key to his own downfall. The memories came flooding back as I read through the old paperwork. I remembered the fire in 2008 that had nearly destroyed the company's main facility. While others panicked, I had coordinated the emergency response, salvaged critical data, and personally rewrote our disaster recovery protocols. When our biggest client threatened to pull their contract due to quality control issues, I had implemented a new inspection system that not only saved the account but attracted 3 new major clients. I had bled for this company, and they were trying to discard me like outdated equipment. Over the past few months, I had watched as 3 of my longtime colleagues, Gregory Hayes, Martha Quinn, and Bill Sanford, had been quietly pushed out. Each had been within striking distance of their full retirement benefits, and each had accepted buyout packages that were a fraction of what they had earned. The pattern was clear now. Darren was systematically eliminating senior employees to avoid paying earned benefits. The next morning, I called my cousin Elliot Carter, a labor attorney who ran a small practice across town in Riverside. We had stayed close over the years, and I trusted him to give me straight answers without the corporate doublespeak I had been swimming in. "Charlotte, this is potentially huge," he said after I explained the situation. "If you can prove systematic age discrimination and contract violations, we're not just talking about your case, we're talking about a class action lawsuit that could cost them millions. But first, I needed evidence. Returning to the office was like walking through a graveyard of my own career. I had clearance for another few days to clean out my personal items, which gave me the perfect cover to access files I needed. The security protocols I had designed years ago now worked in my favor. I knew exactly how to move through the system without triggering alerts. Miranda Sloan from HR intercepted me near the elevator. She was younger than me by 15 years, ambitious, and clearly uncomfortable with the cleanup she was being asked to orchestrate. "Charlotte, I want you to know this wasn't personal," she said, her voice strained. "Maybe we can work something out. An enhanced package, you know." "For your cooperation." I smiled politely. "I appreciate the thought, Miranda, but I'm just here to collect my things." What I was really collecting was far more valuable than personal belongings. Email chains discussing dead weight elimination, budget projections showing cost savings from early retirement incentives, and most damning of all, a recorded conference call where Darren explicitly discussed targeting employees near retirement age to optimize our compensation liability. The smoking gun came from an unexpected source. Bill Sanford, one of the terminated employees, had been recording meetings on his phone for months before his dismissal. He had captured Darren instructing Miranda to find reasons to eliminate the pension crowd and to make sure the severance packages are attractive enough to avoid legal challenges. Within a week, I had contacted Gregory, Martha, and Bill. They were all struggling with the reality of their forced early retirement, watching their life savings dwindle while they tried to find new employment in an industry that seemed to have no use for experienced workers. When I explained what I had discovered, their resignation transformed into righteous anger. "We built this company," Gregory said during our clandestine meeting at a coffee shop downtown. "We made them millions, and they throw us away like garbage." Elliot worked quickly to file preliminary injunctions while I continued gathering evidence. The legal pressure forced Midland to respond, and Darren requested another meeting with me. This time, the offer was significantly higher: 6 months' salary, full benefits continuation, and a glowing reference letter. But the non-disclosure agreement was ironclad, and the non-compete clause remained. "You're a smart woman, Charlotte," Darren said, his earlier smoothness replaced by barely contained desperation. "You know how these things work. Take the money and move on. Fighting this will only hurt you in the long run." I pretended to consider his offer, asking for time to think it over. What I was really doing was buying time for Elliot to complete the class action filing and for our evidence to reach the proper authorities. The final confrontation came 3 weeks after my initial termination. Elliot had sent a formal legal notice to Midland's Board of Directors outlining the evidence of age discrimination and contract violations. The company's legal team requested an emergency meeting to explore resolution options. This time, I wasn't alone. Elliot accompanied me to the conference room on the 25th floor, where Darren sat with Miranda and 2 corporate attorneys who looked like they had been pulled from more important cases. "Let's dispense with the pleasantries," Elliot said, opening his briefcase. "My clients have documented evidence of systematic age discrimination, breach of contract, and violation of federal employment protection laws. We're prepared to file in federal court, unless this matter is resolved immediately." He laid out printed emails, transcripts of recorded conversations, and employment records showing the pattern of targeting older workers. The corporate attorneys exchanged glances that spoke volumes about their suddenly weakened position. Darren tried to maintain his composure, but I could see the panic in his eyes. "These are all taken out of context. we've been implementing legitimate restructuring based on performance metrics. Performance metrics that coincidentally target every employee within 2 years of retirement eligibility, I asked, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Performance metrics that ignore 27 years of exemplary service and company-saving contributions? The room fell silent except for the rain still pounding against the windows. Miranda broke first, sliding a folder across the table. "I have additional documentation that might be relevant," she said quietly, avoiding Darren's furious glare. Email chains, budget projections, and meeting notes that weren't included in the original discovery. She was saving herself, of course, but her betrayal of Darren was music to my ears. The additional evidence she provided included explicit discussions about cleaning house of older employees and detailed financial projections showing how much the company would save by forcing early retirements. Within hours, Midland's board of directors had called an emergency meeting. Darren was suspended pending investigation, and the company's legal team was authorized to negotiate a comprehensive settlement. The corporate attorneys, who had seemed so confident that morning, now looked like they were attending a funeral. 3 days later, I sat in Elliot's office as he read through the settlement agreement. Full retirement benefits for all affected employees, including the $115,000 bonus I had been 11 days away from earning. Punitive damages for emotional distress and lost wages. A complete revision of company policies regarding employee termination and age discrimination. And most satisfying of all, a commitment to ongoing federal monitoring of their employment practices. Gregory, Martha, and Bill each received substantial settlements that restored their retirement security. The company was required to implement new training programs, establish an independent ombudsman for employee complaints, and submit to regular audits of their termination decisions. As I walked out of the Midland building for the last time, I carried with me not just the satisfaction of justice served, but the knowledge that I had protected countless future employees from the same fate. The non-compete clause that would have trapped me in career limbo was voided as part of the settlement, and I was free to use my expertise wherever I chose. The rain had stopped, and afternoon sunlight was breaking through the clouds as I stood on the sidewalk, looking up at the building that had been my professional home for nearly 3 decades. The company sign looked smaller somehow, less imposing than it had seemed that morning when I had walked in as a terminated employee. They had thought I would disappear quietly, another casualty of corporate efficiency. Instead, I had left them with a reminder that experience and knowledge are weapons that can't be easily discarded. The precedent we had established would protect workers for years to come, and the company would never again be able to prey on employees who had given their careers to build something greater than themselves. I had spent 27 years learning their system, understanding their weaknesses, and building the very infrastructure they had tried to use against me. In the end, that knowledge had been my greatest asset and their ultimate downfall. The parking garage was quiet as I walked to my car, my footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. Tomorrow, I would begin the next chapter of my life, but tonight, I would savor the knowledge that sometimes the corporate giants don't win. Sometimes, the people who built the company get to decide how it falls. As I drove away from Midland Precision Systems, I caught sight of Darren's office window in my rearview mirror. The lights were off, and I wondered if he was already cleaning out his desk, experiencing the same cold dismissal he had tried to impose on me. The thought brought a smile to my face. Justice, I had learned, sometimes comes in the form of your own expertise turned against those who underestimate you. They had given me the tools to destroy them, and I had used every single one.